They're gonna see.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Let me ask a question just on owner's comments. And we have a quorum, so that's good.
Yeah.
I don't, does Chroma, does the board still do owner's comments?
During board meeting.
Not during the
Not sure.
workshops.
Because others are welcome to comment on anything during the workshop.
Okay,
So,
got it. Mike, do you have anything you'd like to say during your comments? Okay, fine. Let's proceed then to the agenda splash pad update. As hopefully you all saw, the email went out today. We are super excited that the splash pad is now open with an asterisk. Say, Mark. Open, we'll have the official grand opening week from today, 4 to 5. But now it's open. Very, very excited for that. We've got some sign issues and some putting some it just replaced. Oh, is that live? Was that
yeah, these are the first children.
first children.
Flash pads. Yeah.
that's today?
None of their heads stuck under the slides.
The parents were paying attention.
That's
Yeah.
do we put the benches, do we put the benches in?
The benches will be going in tomorrow. They wanted to wait to pass all inspections today and then add the benches just to prevent any additional commentary.
Okay, so super excited. We got to deal with just some fencing underneath the slide and consolidate the 9 signs that are currently up.
Thank you for making them all blue.
So
I knew the color number.
we got some signs, but it's up, it's operational, it's exciting, it's under budget, on schedule, and he's already talking to me.
Awesome.
So we're really excited, and it's our first project in 8 years. First major project in 8 years since funded by CROA as opposed to developers, builders, or others. So
We've also made a social media post with another video going out, I think later tonight or tomorrow, and it's had a lot of really good feedback so far.
oh, good.
So actually, I think in really time to this was, so most of the commentary is related to, is it open to public or not? And a lot of the commentary back is no, thankfully, it is not open to the public. It's behind for that,
So is it a swipe?
It's the swipe to get into Lakeside Pool. So
Okay.
once you're in that,
Then you're
so
done.
it's the same people that are entitled to go to Lakeside Pool.
Yeah.
There's not a secondary swipe to go into that. So I'm just excited. The surface seems nice and it's good. Everything is good. So we'll let the town be the judge of sure some, but anyway, so I'd like to thank everybody, especially Jacob and others who helped support this project. Any other questions or comments? Yay for us. Okay, next, town hall renovation.
I know nothing. I'm doing my day job at the moment, so.
I was actually over there today. Oops, so let me just share some of the pictures. This is the front boardroom. What's really exciting, I think, from here is you could see the coffered ceiling was finished out just recently. So before, if you remember, it was all the tiling from corner to corner. So having the hard ceiling been up, it's about 14 inches higher than it was before. All the walls are actually already receiving paint. All the base windows are in. The windows are being finalized on the upper level this week with the muttons going in. On the inside, all the red trim is now getting its new color of the green. The storefront will start to arrive on site next week. This is in resident services. We started to receive the millwork this week, which was exciting to see. So this is the resident service counter that will extend all the way across the access for staff is behind the back. And then these will be mounted up on the wall once the counter comes in with the celebration seal. And that's mainly it. They're moving along. You're going to start, right now you're seeing outside a lot of the lifts for the window project. The paint finalized its approval processes today, and right now, they're not sure if they're gonna start with the roof or the facade of the building as far as the paint, just depending on how it goes with the other projects, especially the patio concrete work, but it's going really well. The building seal has been finished on the exterior of the building. And
Did we ask for testing on that? Was there a conversation about that?
They opened up the opportunity. If we wanted to do it, we haven't yet.
We should. Mark, what do you think?
with that, we've requested what the cost would be.
Yeah.
And then once we see that, we can
Well, what is that?
Watertight testing.
water testing the windows.
I'm
They
actually, I was kind of wanting to go out there. I hope they actually put flashing underneath the bottom actually. That was not there previously, but I can't tell from the photographs.
Would that be covered under the warranty of the windows going in them? I mean, would they test it on top of that?
No, because the windows themselves are right.
What, it's gonna be a seal.
I only say this because that's the whole reason we're doing this building. Like,
Yeah, it's,
so if it leaks, then why do we do anything?
Yeah, we'll see what the cost is.
Yeah.
it's worth. That's more than.
whatever it is, they'll be bringing forward at a cost.
That's your question with the flash, somebody can
Well, I assume it would have been detailed with replace the windows, but I just bringing it up, decided
We can
to
verify.
not look at the drawings.
I'd verify it, because that would be an issue, because then you're gonna get one of these,
Test them.
but then there's an issue later on.
We did assess actually.
Same
Yeah.
issue. And if the ceiling field
Right,
fails.
it's a time it comes back. to fix it, so it's-
Yeah. Are you gonna go by and look at the flashing?
If I could,
I'm not asking you to, I just didn't.
no,
know
trust me, I'd like to.
if we're gonna plan to.
That was problem with that day job, it gets annoyed me doing anything.
If you want to just let us know so we can swarm and be
Yeah,
aware.
I'd like to go by and just look at it anyway.
They're still strict on the PPE. Obviously, I'm sure you have the links their vehicle and all that.
I can go and take pictures if you want.
Huh?
I can go and send you pictures of them.
That's fine, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I can send an email now to give us pictures and answer that.
It really is just based on window, I can see what's there, what's not, inside and outside.
Now's the time too.
Yeah,
As far as what is scheduled for completion, are they still tracking?
They're on schedule, yeah.
On schedule.
I mean, if they're doing that, they look at.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
they are.
walls, but
HVAC gets turned on next week, the 23rd.
Yeah, they're actually said they're about to do some stage testing for it already.
Right?
So when we look at April, May.
Your CO is supposed to be mid-April with a mid-May final punch list.
And furniture installs in May, and then we'll have to do IT outfitting.
Yeah.
And then move the team over.
Okay. By mid-year.
yeah, which is not too far behind originally what I
Right.
said. We thought it could be done.
Yeah.
Okay. Okey dokey, next, I think on the agenda, I don't have a working
Multi-purpose court.
There's multi-purpose courts, so, as I communicated to most of you, we went to the board, I went to the board, to ask approval to proceed with the RFP. And so there's two issues. So let's delay until Jim, to talk about finance. So there was an issue about when we would start the construction and spending funds for the sports courts. Right, and is there money available this year or next year? Our work that we've been doing for 2 years always said we would have money available this year to start the project. And so we'll talk about that and get into finance. So when did we start the project? And let's table that. We're either gonna start the project in the third quarter, first quarter, about third, fourth, and first quarter of next. The second issue is we need volunteers. I know Jim just raised his hand and I raised my hand. We need some volunteers to help us write the RFP. And Jacob is gonna supply us or Lauren with the splash pad RFP with any new additional statutory requirements, like you changed insurance requirements or limits of liability requirements or whatever statutory stuff needs to be in there. We'll use the splash pad as a base. we obviously can't, finish it until we have the plans done, which is still tracking for
End of March.
end of March. Okay, say April 15th. And then on April 16th, we would be ready to issue that RFP, but we won't until we have the discussion, debate, on availability of funds.
Please look at 851 also. There's standard AIA contracts that for construction that really should be used for this stuff and referenced. So it's a different thing, splash pad is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah,
So in other words, I'd like at the 851 version as well.
so if you could provide the 851 RFP,
At least I looked at that one very
Thank you.
thoroughly.
Was the splash pad of 851 RFP done by volunteers or was that done by grant members?
Mark did the eight
It did,
fifty-one.
that's when.
We did the
So it's the same process overall, that
can I have sort of,
get a group to volunteer,
Yeah,
they put it together,
volunteer.
it goes through
And then-
a number of iterations.
and then once we have that, we'll send it back to Grand Manners, who will officially bless it as for its completeness and accuracy and formatting and consistent with their best practices. Then we will have the discussion as to when we release that. And that will be based on when do we think construction gets.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I'm just bringing up the question, is it something that the volunteer should put it and submit it to Grand Manners, or Grand Manners puts it together and then submits it to the volunteers?
The reason that volunteers are doing it is because Jacob and I asked for delaying writing the RFP because we just don't have the bandwidth right now.
That they did not, at the meeting, they didn't say that bandwidth, so I said, we'll do it.
Gotcha, okay.
This group will do it, since they don't have the bandwidth to do it. Okay, so, so I guess, we'll get to finance in a bit, so we'll come back to this. So the plans are, for those of you who are not up to date on the plans, thanks to Mark's leadership, insight, we took, I know you've all seen the PowerPoint, but I got it here, so I pull out the stats on it. But the really cool thing about it now is there are going to be, it's not just, originally it was pickleball courts. Okay, now it's full-size basketball court, 2 half-court basketball courts, volleyball court, 6 pickleball courts, 6 cornhole courts, 4 square courts, 2 bocce courts. Now, you can't play those all at the same time. It's 22 courts in total, but you can simultaneously use 15 of those 22 courts. So and over time, if for whatever reason you decided more basketball, less pickleball, more pickleball, less basketball, you'd have to rip up some things, patch some concrete, but you would have the flexibility of that surface to do it. Keeping in mind that the surface, those 22 courts, that's right, 325 feet by 100 something.
It's 310 by 100.
Yeah, okay, there we go. So that's a lot of, it's a small lot, it's lots of stuff. That's in addition to, and then that's the courts, that's physical activity. Then there'll still be a covered area, 50 plus people. There'll be 2 bathrooms, there'll be a storage room, an IT room, there'll be parking spots like the dog park, besides parking on the lawn, or parking, where the soccer people park, bike racks, etc. So it's more than just putting a bunch of courts, right? So I figure this is going to be here for 20 years. It's an investment community. We'll try to pack as much as we can into it, and with the help of our designers and Mark. I keep going back to Mark because originally it was this, and I said, well, let's do this. Someone else said, let's do this, and then we said, how about let's do this, and then we said, well, our plan was phase 2, like phase 2. And for phase 1, for phase 2 is like going to be 5 years from now to get to cornhole and bocce and everything else. And we were able to say, this areas where we can squeeze it in, not a lot, but enough that we can do that. And if for any reason people want to play cornhole, it's not going to be permanent. They pick the structures up and to force it.
Yeah, it's a turf area.
So
a large turf.
So very exciting. And so the only issue there is gonna be, when can we start? And that's gonna get down to just availability.
How is bocce fitting into that?
There's actually space for 2 entire lanes for
Well, hold
all
on, it's a key
sides.
word, it's a key word.
Regulation.
Regulation size, because once we currently have enough,
There's 60.
so for the people who, like Mark, who know exactly what's regulated, these are regulation
I
size.
did have to look it up after they
Yeah.
said the other ones were not, but as for laying it out on other possible
And
fields.
there's two of them, right, Mark?
Yeah, there's 2.
Two.
I guess, isn't bocce a play in dirt, not a dirt grass?
It can be on all the above.
Okay, that's over here. Right now, that's not a multi-purpose, that little strip. Right now, that's one sport bocce. If we put it, not sand and whatever, if we do something else to it, more to be revealed, what we do.
I'm just making sure we're not overselling it by throwing more stuff in there, and it's not truly a service or that it's gonna destroy that maintenance that's gonna be so much higher.
No,
Just
because,
throwing balls on grass and.
no, it's all,
It's not really.
it's all,
Turf, artificial turf.
yeah, it's all turfed and fenced.
I'm not a bocce expert, but if you can play that,
I like
that's okay.
And I'm excited for playing turf. The grass is always something.
Plenty of different bounces, right? I don't know what. Besides grass, it's-
Yes, exactly.
So this is, you know, we took the original, well, bocce courts made it multifunction. We took these, some of the lawn sports that were way out, accelerated them in. And yeah, it's gonna cost a little bit more money, but now we have a pretty compact,
It's interesting, it's a trade-off of concrete and some of the building space to create those open areas on either side of the building. So it actually worked out pretty well to have create those areas.
and we kept shrinking the market. I'm doing.
I already joined, yeah, by the way,
Wait.
I also have some value engineering that I know are gonna happen, so.
Yeah, I already
Built
have-
with certain intervals.
We kept shrinking down the,
Yeah.
the
Shrunk it to-
cupboard. Because originally,
Which did you change it from the last time?
yes,
It's,
well, whatever last time was, it's even
It
smaller.
wasn't as small as that.
it's still.
No, it's the drawing that Mark shared last
Yeah,
night.
it's
Okay,
still
yeah.
assholes, but as a
Yeah.
center
It's
entry.
changed
Small size, they're still a decent size.
Oh, still decent size.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
fun.
It just initially it was gonna be, you know, you
Longer.
could have, you know, a party underneath there, you could have the Girl Scout meeting, and you could have people waiting for basketball. It was big.
And it'll still do that.
It'll still do that.
Millions of it.
It's gonna be great.
I would think that it's better to have more sports courts than pavilion space.
Yeah. And that's,
I think that worked out for the best anyways.
so by
Yeah,
shrinking that,
it's balanced, because there's only so much. People using the courts are gonna be there at different times, and on weekends we use for parties. And I bet it gets used for parties, all right, because it has things to do, plus pavilion space.
plus, but we wanted to make sure you've got covered space, because as people know, if you're, when you're out tennis now or pickleball up in North Village, you know, you're standing out in the sun waiting to play.
Yeah. Instead of basketball, like
Instead of
waiting for the
basketball.
next game, you have somewhere to wait.
Wait, you know, because it's, you know, not a lot of benches
Yeah.
downtown, and there's no shade.
So
So,
might be outside of our scope of this committee, but you guys mentioned parties a few times. That seems like it's contradictory to how we kind of look at the pools where there are no parties. So is this something that we're truly doing different? And then if that's allowed, then can I now use parties for basketball court? and other areas?
somebody else will decide, somebody else will decide that. We're building a pavilion space that has adequate covered seating for all the people playing all these sports. If somebody decides, somebody else decides, listen, we want to change, we want to do something else with that, it's available. Right.
I would just, for us, I would just stick to.
That's
what
why-
we're doing, what we're building, not
the-
what the usage is gonna be.
Well,
That's fine, I'm just, obviously, there's reasons to do it all.
Right.
Pickleball, people play.
we talked about it, all we talked about was
That's
sports,
all here today.
but
So I'm
some,
just saying the whole party aspect, I
yeah.
don't think we should be bringing that up in the conversation.
No, while you're, yeah, I would take a little bit too extreme, but that's.
Okay.
That's fine.
Anyway, so that's where we are. So besides Jim, does anybody else want to help therapy?
I'm gonna be stuck looking at it. So,
When you
yeah,
put your hand up,
yeah, I know I need to. It
Okay, here's what-
really needs to be done with AIA contracts and done correctly
here's what,
as a builder, not a vendor.
so what I'll recommend then is,
Yeah.
we will work on it. We'll do everything, and then we'll send it to you to red line it and say, you
That's fine.
forgot something, you missed something, as opposed to asking you to do what you normally do, which is sit down and put the blank piece of paper.
Yeah,
Let us work it, and then we'll review it with you, then we'll review it with this group, then we'll review it
that's
with
fine.
all, and then.
Again, the main difference is it's not a vendor, it's a contractor. Contractors have different set of things they need to do, and there's contracts that exist.
Got
Typical things used in industry that we should be referencing.
Didn't we let the proposals at the AIA stuff in it?
That's
I
possible.
remember seeing a draft from you.
Yeah, that's good. Yes.
Maybe just send it to them, they can get a.
Yeah, that's why I said whatever, 851. I
It's already
remember what I did.
Yeah.
Right.
Certainly.
That's-
The town hall RFP and the flat net RFP are already in your inbox.
Thank you, perfect.
Right.
Okay, great. Any other comments or questions on the multifunction sports courts that will be online?
One thing I will say, the drawings will be done sooner than later, so they're well underway. The one piece that probably should get going, because it takes forever on every project, is when the civil engineers, to go ahead and put those in for permit.
Yes,
Between Creedy Creek and everybody else is gonna wanna look at it, that tends to take a long time. So that we should just do, so that's where you go, whether or not we put it in for building permits. You can't put it in for building permits until the civil things are done with the
How long?
retention water.
How long will that take?
It varies. Can't even answer that one.
Well, we don't have all
When we started permitting for lot D, it was an extended period of time because of the Brady Creek district and all their commentary.
Right,
Yeah, it's months.
so should that get out by May?
That, yes, yeah, what I'm suggesting, second that the drawings are done and the civil drawings are done, it should go in for permits. The part I don't know is that there is. I assume it'll be in the civil drawings. Obviously, it's drawn now with the L-shaped retention, and that's delineated on the current plans that are out there. So I don't know what that process is to get the plat completely redone, but I assume that's all in civil drawings. Anyway, that process is gonna take months. That should just get going on its own.
so, all right, just one question, then we can move on.
Yeah.
Normally, though, the person submitting that permit would be.
With civil engineers.
The civil engineers,
Civil-
yeah, it's all, it's literally the first thing we do in every
Got
project.
it, thank you.
The building permit should be done by the contractor later.
Thank you for the
That
explanation.
should JVP scope as well.
Oh, already?
Yeah,
One other question on that too, your permitting,
Thank
is
God.
there a time lapse that we have to start the groundbreaking or anything, or it's good for the significant period of time?
it's good to go.
Perfect, that's good. Thank you all for your comments, and all of your expertise on that. Okay, great. Next item, I believe, since I don't have a hard copy, why don't we go to, because I know we got a hard stop, with Andrew. Let's go next to, maintenance shed.
Okay, a couple things to talk about. So bring you back up to speed. Everybody was whipped into a frenzy last time about the easement. So we decided to take a cautious approach. Drafted some letters we were going to send to Crow board. In the meantime, Lauren, through her excellent work, continued to dig, lick through history, going all the way back to 1990 something.
Yeah.
I can barely remember that time of my life, and I was old by then. So what we found was there was an easement granted. It wasn't granted to either Duke or to
Smart City.
Smart City. It was granted to some
It was
tiny
Smart
internet
City.
firm. It seems
So
like.
it was the Smart City before it was called Smart City.
Okay, and basically they acquired this company, which Smart City then inherited the easement, if you will. It does look like there are a couple of problems that should be worked out from a paperwork perspective, meaning the timing was not quite right. The CDD folks apparently felt comfortable signing off on it after they'd already deeded it over to Crowe, which probably would not be held as a good practice, if you will. But the other interesting thing, we did find that on the good side, so they have no rights beyond the easement, meaning that we have right to the rest of the property. We don't have to really check with them other than anything they've already built, we're not allowed to infringe on. But beyond that, it's an easement of convenience for us, not them. There were some cases where some of the folks thought that the Duke folks had the right to basically tell us to get away while they were in emergency mode, and the fact of the matter is they don't. So again, from the positive point of view, the easement is there. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit, I suspect, and hopefully you folks will work on getting the board knowledge or information on what needs to be done.
I think it was Vista United.
Yeah, that's what it's called. It's with Charlie, the attorney, to
Good.
clean up.
Good. Second piece of our puzzle, if you remember, we were supposed to work on getting some numbers. So Jim, we finally have some numbers. If you go here, I just wanted to again remind you all of what sort of we were talking about here. The maintenance shed is quite old. In the appendix, there are some pictures of it. We won't bother to go back through those again. They're depressing. When you see them, it's kind of old, dirty, dingy. Most importantly, I suspect no restroom facilities other than a porta potty on the location. Probably not the image that we want to project long term anyway. So with all of that said, Luis, I think, did a great job. If you go to the next slide, he worked with a contractor. This is the current elevation. By the way, that drawing makes it look so perfect and pristine. It's actually crooked, wretched, and pretty nasty looking. But this is what it looks like now. And there are problems with the roof, which one would expect after 20 years. So if you go to the next slide, they came up with, I thought, a really good proposal. Go up and put the restroom up on top and get more storage space and things. Because remember, we're pretty property bound there. So this would get us quite a bit more square footage. Now, having said that, of course, we have to consider the budget. So we're going to talk about this, and then we're going to ask you folks to give us some guidance going forward. But again, we have to do things with the roof anyway. Going up, I think, from a financial point of view, probably makes sense at this point if we're going to do that. You'll notice again, exterior stairs picked up, more storage space, and a lot cleaner, more roofed-in space. Go to the next one. So our budgetary estimate, about 175 to 200,000 to do that. Now, want to caution you, those are all preliminary numbers, of course, but they came from a contractor. So we think, we'll be in that zone. Now, I think we can do it a lot cheaper if we chose just to do a bathroom and do some minor cleanup work. So we're kind of looking for some guidance here. If we have an appetite, we'll go further on this, harden up these numbers, or we can go back to the drawing board and say this was a little too extravagant for where we're at. I will caution you, as I've done since the beginning of this project, or starting to look at it. I'm very nervous because this does not solve the long-term problem. As far as I can tell, we still don't have a plan. And I get nervous personally, spending money, especially when you start talking about six figures, without having a plan for what we're going to do long-term. So I think we still need to really step back and say, boy, maybe we should be talking the long-term first and then deciding how this fits in. Or we can go ahead and know that we have to do something here because frankly, safety is probably not in good shape right now, nor is employee efficiency and morale. So we probably need to do something, but I would still strongly push the idea that we need to get a long-term plan going that includes islands and allows us to service the community the way we want to. So we're looking for some guidance.
So let's table that for about 15 minutes. Because we're going to talk finance next.
Yep.
Just before, so this might interest them here. Because I think we're out of items anyway. So let me preface this and just sorry, I'm going to jump on some numbers here. So there's currently several different outlooks for how much money the capital account will have this year. And the difference between various views at various times is about $1 million difference, which is significant because if you take the lower view, we basically don't have any money for maintenance shed. We had to defer all projects, every project this year. If you went with the low view, you go with the high view, we could do some projects. Difference is $1 million. It comes in two flavors. I'll let you take you through one view, which is how many homes are going to get sold this year, the P times Q, and what does that mean? That's $400,000 each. The second view is approximately $700,000 is owed to the capital reserve account that's currently not there. It's being used to fund operations. So the question more that I would pose to you and to the board is, what is the schedule to repay them? Just the schedule. It could be, it could be 3 months, it could be 3 years. Somebody's got to declare what that schedule is. Right now, there is not a schedule, to the best of my knowledge. So without that schedule of knowing when the money is coming in, you can't do anything. You can't, if the money is never coming in, well, then you can't start sports until second quarter of next year, maybe. If the money's coming in, so we need to know when that money is coming in. And the second, for the track, Jim's gonna take you through the track for the home sales. We will see every month, are we on the track that Jim and the finance committee developed, or are we on the track that Gray Manus is using as well? So those would be the two things we have to understand before we can do anything. Because that lower track, since the capital fund has $0 in it, like July of this year.
So a couple of questions, Jim, you may or may not be able to answer them. So the 700,000 I get, and by the way, we're here at the board's whim, discretion, whatever you want to call it, but pleasure. So what rules do they follow relative to moving between capital and operating? So again, I'm an old time guy. Government accounting would say you can't do that, but we're not a government.
Typically speaking, if you go back in history, the amount that would be held in operating, not yet quite to capital, would be capital fees paid in that current month that would be transferred the next month. So typically, even if you go last year without some blips and stuff, that intercompany balance is closer to 170,000, where it ended the year at 670 because they took 200,000 out of capital, put it into operating because they needed the cash.
So I'm asking a different question. Does the board, I'm not an advocate or disadvocate here, the board, do they have the right
Yes,
to move the money from capital to operating?
yes.
So unlike a government entity, they can move between those pools with a vote.
The only protected fund is the reserve fund. So the board cannot pull money from reserves to operating or to capital.
That's by state statute.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, but just so
I
all AR touches the operating account first, and then if it makes, the operating account makes monthly payments to reserves, which is first priority. And then if there's money, it makes payment to capital fund, which would be secondary to the reserves.
And again, there's always
respectfully disagree with that. So you could let your legal counsel know. I thought, I thought when we passed the referendum last January, it took it from 0.5% up to 1%. We said these capital fees are 0.5%.
it's a 0.5%.
What, you see a little half, right?
1 year of dues to 0.5%.
And what did we say that money was going to be used for?
It's for capital fund for the
Okay.
splash pad.
So
If we didn't
so
do
the
it, we
town
had to splash
voted to use that money for the capital fund. So if you don't put it into the capital fund, they don't know if for that money you have the discretion.
I just want to add, there's also allocations that are agreed upon at the beginning of the year. And coming out of operations of both of the capital and to the resource.
Which again is completely
I get
discretionary.
where you're coming from.
Right, but it's, so we agreed to reserve to go from 1.1 to 1.4 this year. But it's gonna be critical that the board
This is-
doesn't spend more than that, even though that includes all the furniture for 851. Now, the allocation to the capital fund went from 500,000 down to 275,000. So there's some of that money
The
that,
anticipation of the
But
money
I
coming
think
in.
to Joe's concern, I think, is for the resale assessment, isn't that more of a pass through that never really touches operating? It just gets collected at the home sale, goes into capital.
That's what
Where
I was just asking.
you want an allocation, is something that
That's
technically
different.
could be deferred,
That could be,
because that does come in from HOA
and
dues
that's,
and then goes through the process, and if there's money left over.
what I'm gonna recommend is, a lot of us are lawyers, and most of us aren't on the board. This is not, we'll let others sort that out and figure out what we will ask for this group, rather than legal reading on this. Is it legal, or is it per our bylaws, or whatever? What we will ask is, what is the schedule to the payment? That,
Well, if Astoria pays, their two payments from last year, we pretty well pretty much agreed that those two
well,
payments.
that would be, if this happens and this happens and this happens, then you'll get repaid. Fine, whatever it is, we need to have some guidance, because otherwise, Mark is the only one in this room who's gonna be happy, because he's not gonna have to do any more RFPs or design
I
work.
would say, I think, on a member of finance, the goal would be that all funds due from operating get to capital by the end of the year. Now, realistically, is that possible? I don't know, because we have so many delinquent payments that are due. We don't know what the timing of that is. We don't know what the board spending will be. There's all kinds of variables in there, but I think a fair goal should always be that we zero out our accounts every single year. That's fair.
Okay, so
So,
somebody,
that's my individual plan of.
their manage their finance team, the board will look at all that data and say, based upon, if this, and this happens, here's the payment schedule. If this doesn't happen, if Astoria doesn't start paying 50,000 a month, then operations not gonna be able to pay cap, whatever it happens to be, it just needs to be written down so we can look at it.
Does this need to be a action item request for storage to discuss that, or can we just add that as a discussion for the next? For discussion,
What are you?
when is it gonna be repaid?
Oh.
Because the board is not discussing that.
No, but they don't know what the cat, I mean, okay.
I asked
Can
that
I
question at
speak?
the last board
Yes,
meeting.
you're right, and they
Okay,
don't know.
now attention,
All right,
the floor
so
is yours.
to your point, last year in 2025, final was 323 homes were purchased at bringing in a capital fund earning of 1,278,000, which is 857,000 more than if we had stuck with 1 year worth of dues. Right, so basically paid for the splash pad, and we have a couple $100,000 extra if we get the money in. So we started off January this year with 30 home sales, bringing in 124,000, and that's versus compared to 17 last year in January. 6 of those up to 30 are from Island Village Phase 2. So things are obviously, home sales are going to be the biggest key to driving what we're going to have in the capital fund going forward. Now, again, we looked at that in the finance committee and said, we think that we can go to $1.5 million. We did $1,278,000 this year, going up to 1.5 because of phase 2 continuing to grow, and all this, the homes that will be coming up on sale. So
Those are primarily townhouses, right?
no,
Phase two?
no, phase 2 is mostly
So we're in phase one with right now it's phase one with the town.
phase 2A is 84 homes in townhomes.
Right.
Phase 2B.
2B, okay.
is
Will be
235 townhomes and homes.
So the homes will be priced higher probably.
They are priced higher.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
they're
good.
making some deals, but
Yeah, yeah.
they're certainly priced higher than what they've been. So we had a meeting this morning with Ray to talk about his, because I was not at the workshop, his forecast versus what I had put together for the capital fund. The biggest differences is we're saying $1.5 million, he's saying $1.2 million. He's gonna come in. I say we're gonna get 450,000 back of our intercompany balance. He says we're not gonna get anything back. We agree on 851, we agree on the splash pad. He only has 120,000 being spent for the multi-purpose sports courts, which is just for the architect. I have over 700,000 still for the fourth quarter, and we could start those. I also have 200,000 of potential capital projects that the board might approve during the year. And 300,000 for our part of the pool heater in Island Village Phase 2 that we have to pay half of. While that happens, at the end of the year, we'd still have $936,000 in capital fund.
After paying 700,000 for sports. funds.
Actually raised when I went through it and reconciled it with him. He actually comes down to 614,000 at the end of the year. But again, that doesn't include us getting any of the intercompany back. It doesn't include paying 700,000 for the sports courts and things like that. So again, a lot's going to depend on house sales and, you know, making sure we get that stuff in. There's also 120,000 of capital fees that should have been paid in 2025 that Grand Manors have said they haven't got. Now, just recently, when I was coming in today, I got an email from one of the title companies that had 4 homes last year that claimed we didn't get the money, and they said everyone was cashed by the HOA. So Ray's going to start when he gets some time to do a reconciliation of all this, and we're probably going to find out that if not all of it, very much of it, of the 120,000 had been received. And so,
One other thing that is in Ray's projection is the assessments, the homeowner assessments. He handicapped that by 6%. That's a $7 million a year revenue source. So that's 420,000 in revenue in the operating fund that he pulled out. Now that's what generates the December negative balance in the operating fund. Requires capital to contribute 200,000 to pay the bills.
Right.
So if we just hit the assessments, everybody pays their bills and our accounts receivable stays steady, which they're gonna go down because we're gonna get stuff from Astoria and some of these residents and everything. It depends on how many new ones we have come in. But that 420,000, that could appear. I mean, we budgeted for the full number and we expect it to be 7 million, but we'll see what happens. But that's in this also. That's a handicap that's in the operating fund that also affects the capital fund. But if it's successful, that will help to replenish the capital. So,
yeah.
So just I kind of go back a little bit to take this point and you kind of get on it. One of the things Laura and I asked Ray this morning. So we have 2 formal requests, I think. One is, when is the money going to be paid back? What's it dependent upon? Just put assumptions down. It's not casting concrete, but at least we could all look at it and it could help us decide. Because right now, let's say Bob goes spend 30 more seconds on anything with maintenance shed until we know. Because Ray's number goes negative. You said that's 600 for the year, but I think it was negative in June.
in operating, well, yeah.
It's chart.
Yeah.
So the request, and I'll send this to you in writing, is we just need, there needs to be, maybe there is one, a process for when, from the title company to Grand Manors to the operating account to the capital account when a home gets sold, right? Because that's that's a, you could do a diagram. And so how's that work? How's it get reconciled? Because Jim goes to the accounting and gets home sales. He looks and says, I can see a home is sold. How's that get reconciled? So there should be a master list. And it said, okay, it's sold, title company, money went to the title company, money went to Grand Manors, money went to operating, and you just be able to see where that flow is, as opposed to.
There's a process for that. It was explained either at the finance committee meeting or the last.
So it's a process.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I would say there has
So
been a
the
process.
thing is,
There's a
Ray
process.
just hasn't had the time to go back and reconcile.
okay, well, it's something it's a process. So this 150,000 would be on a sheet somewhere, and we would know today where that money.
I would say the process is flawed in the fact that it seems Grand Manor is collecting funds, but then Ray has to create an invoice to have the money moved to Crow. And that isn't sustainable for efficient. So
And
I think you are gonna go back to corporate to tie it out where when the funds come in, they get moved over to our pro balance.
They are in your pro balance sheet. What happens is where we're seeing the mistake on the back office corporate side, title company says, here's the money.
Yeah.
The corporate team that processes conveyances is processing those piece by piece. There's a step that they're missing where they're putting the funds on the individual account. Let's say 829 drug shadows, because I'm the address I'm looking at right now
You
is
don't see it.
is conveyed. They're putting that money on that individual's ledger, but they're not booking it to the working capital assessment, which is the GL that we utilize to kick everything over. So it's sitting in their individual account and thus in your operating fund. It's just not being moved over to the capital account and then and thus to not acknowledge that we received that working capital assessment.
Okay, right. And so, right, so every month, at the end of the month, you would know that this much is outstanding from title company, this much is outstanding from Grant. You'd have those balances.
So along those lines, Lauren, you should know,
Okay.
you should have an account over 120,000 for what hasn't been pushed to us.
No, it's in individual accounts.
I'm not disagreeing. This is not a valid topic. This is not in the purview of this group's work, unfortunately. And that's where I come in as liaison. This is not something, this is a finance committee thing, but this is not a master plan. How we collect these funds is not this group's.
I'm just,
That's all after we get to labor.
okay.
Yeah, and so to ask the question, when is this money coming back? That's when.
Okay.
Well, and I think the
The
real
fact,
question is,
the fact,
again, we're operating at your discretion, the board's discretion.
okay.
What we really want to know is what's the budget for, and what should we assume the budget to be?
And when can
We're
you
gonna
spend?
rely on Jim, or we're gonna rely on Ray, whoever Ray is. Ray,
He's our
Great
finance
finance
manager.
manager.
he works for,
He's a
Grant
finance
Mason,
manager, but he's cited here as your dedicated finance
so
manager.
he's like a controller.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we gotta decide whose budget we're gonna use.
Well,
That's
just to give Ray a little break, he wanted to be conservative on some presentation to the board. Now, whether that was to just kind of knock the board to say, don't spend any money, or just to be conservative, as some people are when they do forecasts and things like that. Bottom line is, it's gonna be what the true cash is that comes in. And that's the most important thing. We're sitting here in February. We can't project all the way to December at this point as to, or even the fourth quarter as to how much money we're gonna have if you can start the sport boards or whatever.
So,
That's not an acceptable answer, Jim. You were a controller, weren't you?
I was
Some
a
point-
CFO most of my career.
I'm a CPA myself.
Yeah.
You would never accept that answer in a business. Can't say, gosh, we're gonna wait and see if it comes in. You have to say, this is our plan, conservative, liberal, whatever you want to
Do
do.
you know how many houses?
And
are
then
gonna
you
sell?
make adjustments, then you make
Do
adjustments.
you know how many houses are gonna sell?
And then you make adjustments.
so Jared, I'm gonna
We have it, but
respectfully challenge a little bit.
have you seen it? Have you read it?
No, I think that's the question I'm asking. We have the official
Look at
budget.
the,
If so, we should be having this dialogue because that's the way we should be operating.
Let us come back with, after the board discusses, after the
I have a
board.
suggestion. You've got, I said this in the board or the workshop. You have bookends right now. You have a very conservative approach and you have one that's more optimistic. Pick a midpoint if you want a number, pick a midpoint in the middle and say that's what we're gonna work with and see how that works out. The other thing to do is wait until May, June, probably June, and we will know quite well some of the things are gonna clear up. We're gonna know Astoria. We're gonna know those other residents. We're gonna know what his trends are.
And I think that's what we have to do,
That's
because,
when you get more information.
because we need to know about this historic payment. We need to know when the funds are getting paid back. I mean, I see what you're saying, but we don't know. If people don't pay their dues for whatever reason,
But you just gave the answer.
They will still pay.
All I'm saying, and again, I'm trying to support you, that the board should tell us, this is what you should do. Here's the 6-month window, and then we'll come back and.
Right.
I think,
But the board should tell us that, as opposed to us sitting here saying.
the part that someone might not want to hear though is that I think until we get to May and we have a clearer picture, our budget is zero.
Okay, well,
That's where we stand on new capital projects right now.
So right
We can
now-
plan for stuff, but we just can't spend it.
okay. And fine, and so Jared, just to go back, so, we gotta stay in our lane, right? And that will, not for me to question the process, but the reason why it's frustrating. So 30 days ago, I pitched this chart to the board, right? And it said, can't read it, but it said, we're gonna request bids in April. We're gonna award in July, and we're gonna start construction in September. And everybody looked at that, and I wasn't asking for permission. I just put it up there, and the board, public meeting, nobody said anything. I go back, yes,
And then in January, two resident communities in this town didn't pay $500,000. That changed the next step.
I would say for that realistically, it's gotta be pushed back at least 3 months.
oh, Okay.
From just like an
Okay.
estimate of what's our new projection based on the new information that came in January.
Well, the board collectively pushed it to end of the year. We
All of
discussed
it?
that.
Start.
No, start the RFP, work on the civil engineering scope of it, and let's put this out to bid in November, December, so they can start 2027.
So yeah, that's a change to that. I think so.
Exactly. Well, I would
Wow.
still suggest backing up sooner. You're not necessarily gonna spend money, so
Fair,
anyway.
and I'm all for that. I'm
Yeah.
all for that.
So I'm gonna tell you to back up still to try to,
yes, yes, we'll
Yes.
take that.
once you put it out bid, you can ask them for schedule values when the heck they actually
So,
start.
so just help me understand again, so between last month and this month, Astoria didn't pay, that's news from last month to this month, and that's,
And someone else didn't pay enough that it
None of
was.
the-
somebody else didn't pay their crow. So
No,
this-
none of the apartment
The
complexes
apartments.
paid their apartment rec fees, which amount to about $1.2 million.
Right, that's what I said, in that chart.
And wasn't there a delay with Mattamy too?
So as a
Yeah.
result of that,
That was another piece that
That's a
we
good
didn't
chunk
have
of money.
prior, when they put that up.
Astoria, like a financial entity still, or should there be a lien on something
they're,
that?
they're.
There's a lot of stuff going on with that.
Yeah.
Other people, other lane, someone else.
Yeah.
We
But not a property.
discussed that.
We're working through the legal process.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Just out of curiosity, who is the story?
It's an apartment complex.
Apartment complex on the way to the high school.
All the apartments pay a per door fee to Chrome, so their residents can utilize the amendments.
Okay, all right, well, we've had a lot of discussion here, so,
Well, if anybody wants to look at the 2026 budget, it's on the celebration,
But is it really the budget?
isn't it? It's
Yeah,
still there,
it's the
right?
budget.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the
it's put
budget.
together by the finance committee working with Grand Manners every year.
It's the budget based on collected funds. Collected funds.
did the approved budget for this year? In the budget, whatever it is, that credit to move money from the operating fund to the capital. It did, to pay off the 723 balance.
Not to pay
No.
off the balance, not to pay off the interfund balance, but to contribute to capital fund.
Capital
Well, wait,
fees,
contribute to the capital fees.
capital fees and the allocation.
Per our statutory requirement for the vote for the residents, but not 723.
Well, 230 only came about in December when we needed to offset last year's budget. So like, it's so
That's-
dynamic.
At the time of the budget, it was only 123,000.
There's a difference between the budget and cash flow.
Yes,
And in the budget, the accounts receivable was estimated at a certain number, it's running above that. So that's a use of cash.
so
So we can still bring, we can still make money on the PS, we can still make the budget, but we can be short on cash. Our accounts receivable right now is $2 million. Now, all these apartment complexes are gonna come in, except one's gonna be over a longer period of time. So there are some late residents. Our normal accounts receivable is around $400,000 to $600,000 in that range. So there's $1.4 million of cash we have tied up there. And until we get that, just to a little uncertain.
okay.
This came up with pickleball 3 years.
Then they can move money. I'm just asking about moving money back
The only money we can't move is reserved somewhere else.
Yeah, once it goes in reserve, it
But
stays there
everything
for
else is
reserve.
just one bucket.
Joe, I think if you were a government.
I got this.
Or any real business.
Well, in the real business, you make those decisions on the fly.
Yes, got it, okay,
Yeah.
all right, beat this one up very good. Jim, anything else on finance?
I will say, I agree with everything everyone's saying. Nobody is wrong here. It's just that the cash flow currently is not ideal. And it's really 4 or 5 accounts. It's not like 200 that we have a problem.
And we have to make payroll. And so.
So everything just ends up in operating.
This has to keep running, right?
But I think give it in three or 4 months, you're gonna have a lot better picture.
It's gonna-
Forecasting, you'll know home
Yes.
sales for.
By June, once town hall is open, you'll be able to make decisions.
Then you can know.
And on all this, you'll be able to put timelines on multi-purpose parts.
Yeah.
Jared, I think my only concern here, like, normally I would have been told, cut your budget by 10% because we're running short.
Yeah,
Well, that's.
We didn't hear that. That's where things got a little out of whack here. We were continually saying, okay, we got plenty of money,
well, because there's no interest to cut the budget, it's just delay the project.
but still,
Because I was fighting to get this 1.8, what was the budget on these multi-purpose courts originally?
What?
1.2? And we also think 1.8 is a good high number, so like that's, so we don't want to cut the budget, but we don't have the cash now, so let's delay the project, and
That,
Mark's cut what we can cut, that's been,
yeah, it's cut.
it's what it is.
So what it may end up doing is you may end up rolling over into 2020. That's not good.
I will say, I
It
think,
doesn't take that long to build it, so it really is something that needs
Then
to
it start, well, then you start later.
Yeah.
You're saying, just saying, we don't have the money. I know the money's there in the sheets, but I don't know.
well, the good thing is for 2027, when a new budget comes out, I mean, they can put $1 million contribution to capital and build that into the budget, so the money can be created for next year, or it so desires.
Yeah.
2027.
With a 15%.
Let's say $50,000 line.
But it's not, but again, guys, our major source of funds, other than the 250,000 that comes, the major source of funds is to do home sales.
Yes.
And that, I don't think that's discretionary, that has to go to the county. And if we just, that's the amount of money we get to spend it.
It goes to the capital fund if you have the cash to put it in the capital fund.
And if it doesn't, it does disappear. That creates that.
I'm not trying to invoke my training and education. You may be wrong on it.
I
We
believe
checked
you're
with the
wrong.
attorneys
wrong.
multiple times.
And they said you don't have to move it?
That's why every
That's why
month
there's
is
an
down.
inner fund.
She has the
No,
intercom
I
line.
don't understand. So in traditional government accounting, Jim, if I'm wrong, you tell me.
We're not a governmental entity.
I understand that. However, if we have by statute said we're going to put it in there,
It's
we
not
don't have the right,
It's not
It's not just,
statutory.
it's a board
It's a
decision.
board decision.
even after the election.
After people voted,
Are we sure? Okay, because boy, that sounds dicey to me.
So even if the money all flowed directly to the capital account, the Borough Board of Directors can still say, we're taking $500,000 from the capital account, putting it in operating.
Okay, and then again, I think, boy, we better be careful how we talk about this, because I got a feeling some members may be upset.
no, anyway, we're gonna stand our lane on this one, we'll let the full board, advocate through. But if the concern I have, my personal concern is, if 6 months from now, there's another operational issue in town with somebody else going bankrupt or something, that, you know, we're just, there's no reason for us to exist anymore, because we won't be funding. Because this year, right now, everything is on hold. We have no money for this year. In Ray's latest assumption, he has zero for capital projects for this year. Is that true, Jim? Zero,
He has 0 for,
any project?
no, yeah, because he's got the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's got
Yeah,
splash pad, he's got.
okay, but those are done, nothing new, nothing new, nothing new.
Just completing
Just
the design.
completed,
the
previously
designs
approved.
of-
Did he earmark $200,000?
No, I did.
He did that.
He's got one.
He has
for
200.
the courts. His budget is got by the courts. for the design work.
For the architect.
Design.
Okay. Any other topics, questions, etc.? Many.
Well, quick comments,
Yes.
if there's anything left over, we probably, and it can be paid for in 27, we should see how we can back it up. One, we still need a real actual bid number, get some money in place.
Yes.
So
Yes.
to me, getting an RP out, they can still
Yes.
put a real number to it, and we really know what we're doing with it. Stick with someone. My comment, not that it matters because money doesn't exist, but there is a period of time later in this year where contractors are going to be slow. We've already said that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
there's an opportunity there that people will be way more interested.
That's,
It's been not later in the year, but as a matter of fact, the 851 contracts that I told me. You know, to build the research.
Is that a historical thing, typically certain time of year?
No, it's just the way things are flowing
Right now?
Yeah, the economy is getting better, but there's a delay. There's told when things go in design, when things get funded, and when things actually start construction. There's a blip still from past that's playing its way through. People trying to figure out what's happening. So anyway, there's opportunities there to get a little bit better price and get this thing done, but it will not take very long to build this thing, so it's months, it's not.
I think it's a good point.
The one thing I was gonna say is, your numbers of 150 to 200 or whatever they were, I think that should be related to like 400.
It's
Because
like,
if you go out at 200, then you can't ever come back to a board and
It
say
won't be.
it's gonna be 300, because everybody will lose their mind that we're not doing anything right. It's just this whole thing.
so
Start at 400. Let it be.
several points to that, it needs to be designed by an architect. One, that's all 72 stories, it's got zoning issues. There's,
But it's a prefab building, so I get it's not that expensive.
no, I know, but you can't just build something.
Right.
So it's gotta be designed, the square footage a lot is what it is, you can only improve it so much, build so much square footage. Then what the heck are we saying about parking and other things to it? Plus structurally, can it really take it? Obviously, who's guaranteeing that? Also, architecturally, it's just gotta look good, because that thing is sticking, will really stick out as two-story structure there, so it's gotta be.
So I don't disagree with anything, by the
Yeah,
way.
so in other words, put 30 grand to it,
I said, no, I didn't do it. Without a scare, right?
No, we did not discuss that, but when I saw that, I was like, I love it, but no.
But
Yeah.
that would tell me, and again, now I'm in my lane. I wouldn't vote for that if I were on this committee. Because that's way too much without a plan. What are we gonna do for the rest of it? I would be embarrassed to go forward with that.
But so another thing that can happen this year is this committee coming up with, we have a budget of 400,000 or whatever it is that's discussed. And we want to go out and get an architect involved to do this, just like we did with the multipurpose.
That's what I'm recommending too. is
That's
do that.
something that can happen now, and money could be spent on that, because you're talking, what, 30?
But back to your original point, my point is if I go back now and I say 400, good. I might be back in another 2 years to say I need another 400 because I don't know if there's any needs. We haven't considered those. I'm saying we should consider all those needs before we make a decision.
Before you invest that.
Yeah,
Which,
I would feel just kind of, they might need their own facility over.
Yes.
Well, you have
Somebody needs to spend it.
You slate somewhere, or slate it with the pool pump heater, you get the maintenance building, don't you?
The size of this.
No, we get a one-car garage.
One car garage.
But you're right, it needs to be.
before we close, I have two comments. One is, it was in the Monday morning flash, or whatever you call it, call for volunteers. So if you would be interested in, volunteering for this committee, you need to submit an application by, or something, April something. So anyway, it's online.
Didn't take the opportunity to make it April 1st.
Yeah, so anyway, if you're interested, I would strongly encourage you to go fill out the application now. Just one point, is because it's in everybody's outlook for the pool heater for Island Village. When we looked at pool heaters, I forget who did the consumer. So you did the spreadsheets and you did this analysis, and we looked at it when we're done and said, thank you, good work, but we're not gonna do it because it was $150,000 full.
Well,
It depends which
one
one.
you said, yeah, and Islands in particular was to do the existing pool, and since we knew that we were looking at the second phase pool, we said no. The other question was the other pools here in Celebration.
But to jump
We said-
to that point, you just looked over and you said we were pausing that project because we are looking at adding a heater to the.
It's still
Pausing the island.
Yes.
Anyway, my question is though, so it's $600,000.
So that pool is bigger than Lakeside, and
Okay.
instead of the 2 large heaters that heat Lakeside, it's going to be 4 large heaters. Plus,
Dramatically.
they have to expand the equipment room, they have to increase the electrical panel to accommodate those. They have to dig
Does
the
that go
well.
out to bid? Did we get the, I'm just thinking 600,000.
They-
sounds like
they
a lot
bid
to
it.
heat a pool.
So they bid it out through their contractor
Got it.
and we checked, Louise,
Went through it all.
our facilities director skimmed through it and pushed back on Simeon.
It's
Okay.
geothermal and it's.
Okay, got it.
There's gonna be cost savings on the back end.
Yes.
It's because it's.
Got it. Okay. Just because it seemed high and
We also-
because it's 300,000, it's, you know, it's 3 pickleball courts and half a basketball court.
Yeah, but it's just not
It's
for,
it's shed.
for meters. It's all.
It's all maintenance.
It's the construction
Yes.
to accommodate the heat.
Okay.
And so they.
I'm gonna suggest we put it somewhere else.
Any other questions, comments?
This is my last meeting with this group, so thank you for all of you that are here. I appreciate Don being here and seeing the efforts and advocating for this
Yeah.
group.
I'm going to be on the board next month, actually. And so I just wanted to see what you guys are doing and just let you know, I'll be a liaison, or whatever, but I support you guys, you know, I believe in what you're doing. I think the proof is what we've seen, you know, so far, and the money doesn't lie, and so we're gonna always look at the budget, that's gonna lean on my finance first.
And I've been lucky to have the two smartest groups with finance and this group of like the best brains in town doing stuff. I have Dog Park also, so that balances it out.
That's a low bar. But Jared, I'd like to thank you for
definitely.
voice space and your desk support, so. very
Yeah.
much.
It's sports.
Anything else? Going once? Twice?
Maybe.
Yeah.